Well, we're back with another edition of Less Kevin, More Tech from UTECIT.com, right?
That's right. It's us.
So now, I think we always say this, but we got a special guest this time, right?
Yeah.
And this one really is a special guest because I think she lost a bet. That's how we got her here because we've begged and begged to get her on this show, right? I mean, this podcasting was invented for this lady right here.
So begging, it didn't work?
No, it didn't work. It didn't work. We tried bribing her. That didn't work. You know, she had
that's
high
our two
ethics.
go-tos, begging and bribing.
Yeah, so I think we finally got Christine to make a bet with her, and I think she lost it on something. We got her here. So we have the Queen of Human Capital. Is that how we?
Wow!
Is that how we say that right now?
Wow.
Yeah, she used to be the Queen of Accounting and the Queen of Economic Development. Now it's the Queen of Human Capital, and that is.
Man, I like that. That's a good tagline.
Yeah,
I do. I like that.
Yeah, get it trademarked.
she's a human trafficker.
Yeah. No.
All right, we're going over the edge.
All right, so we have Amy Cell
Yeah.
from Amy Cell Talent Agency, right?
Yes.
Hello, Amy.
Hello. Great to be here.
Yeah, welcome.
Words never said before. Say that again, Amy, so our listeners hear that. So, we got her here. We got her in here. And let's talk a little bit about your background here.
Sure.
And we've admired you for a long time. And you were with Ann Arbor Spark, MEDC, worked with the governor. Now you're doing your own your own talent agency, right?
Yes.
Recruiting firm,
Yeah.
job placement.
Yeah.
You're
Almost 8 years.
You're
yeah.
professor. You're on a board with WCC on the foundation board. You're about all things Ann Arbor, aren't you?
It's an amazing community to be involved in anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's go back and let's start with the Ann Arbor Spark because that's a great organization,
Yes.
and you were, along with many others, very instrumental in making it a great organization, right?
Oh, well, that's very kind. It was an amazing team, an absolute dream team.
Mm-hmm.
Just a great group of people that was very committed to the mission. No politics. We were all in it to support Ann Arbor, and there were some rough times. That's when Pfizer decided to close down their Ann Arbor Research and Development Facility. I remember that day in January. We were sitting in a conference room and got the word, and we were devastated. And immediately, though, under the leadership of Mike Finney, just jumped into action about, okay, what can we do? Mm-hmm. We've got this facility that we want to repurpose in an effective way. We want to keep as many people here as we could. We wanted to kind of stem the loss of jobs from the region. And so we started putting together job fairs. I was point on that as the lead talent person. We had a lot of companies that were interested in connecting to that talent, and a lot of them we were able to convince to open Ann Arbor offices. Mm-hmm. A lot of the scientists ended up founding companies and startups and creating a real life science hub in the region, which was great to see. So it was all hands on deck. I remember being in meetings with the governor, with all the people trying to kind of address this issue because it was such a life force of life science in Michigan, and we were trying to become more diversified as a state, and losing that facility was a big blow.
So, Amy, I want to tag. The first thing you said was we had a great team, and so everything I've ever read about people that just knock it out of the park, the companies that knock it out of the park, they always mention we had a great team, right? So I'm just curious in your mind, one, how do you build or how do you get the great team in the first place, right? And then how do you know? What do you do to, foster that?
Yeah, I think a part of it is around having a mission that people believe in.
Okay.
As they say, you want to get the right people on the bus and then figure out which seats they should have. But I think having a clear mission,
Good to
Ann Arbor
great.
Spark, yes, exactly.
That's right.
Having a clear mission, and the mission for Spark was really to create new jobs, bring new investment into the region, really to support the Ann Arbor area community. And so a lot of people could get on board with that type of mission. So I think that was one step. But the other piece is really fostering that teamwork, as you've said. I mean, it's great to get a bunch of good people that believe in a mission together, but if you don't address conflict. I'm really a big believer that conflict management and teamwork go hand in hand. Where if you can't, because you're always going to have issues with people, and if you can't foster a culture that addresses issues directly, honestly, and respectfully, then you are going to, I think, often go into that teamwork death spiral where people get disengaged, passive aggressive, leave, backstabbing. There's a good little video clip on that. Versus if you can address an issue, make your needs known, have other people react to that in a positive way, it builds that engagement and builds an even deeper connection. And I remember there'd be meetings with so myself, Mike Finney, and then Elizabeth Parkinson, who was our marketing person. And the three of us would be on a lot of groups together. And I remember very distinctly in our cubicles, like Mike, I was very animated about my position, and we have those kind of crazy ideas, but Elizabeth would pull me back. I mean, she would, we were peers, and she could easily have said, "Oh yeah, Amy, you go ahead with that idea, and let me watch you fall over that cliff." But instead, she would fight me to make sure that we came up with the best solution. And I remember the three of us would just have very animated discussions about how do we want to do this, and there was no talking behind anybody's back. We just said what we wanted, and we would together build something that wouldn't be exactly what somebody had a vision, but together that synthesis of viewpoints, we would come up with amazing new programs and support, and it was amazing. It really was.
So I had a phrase for that, and it never caught on, but I always liked it. But I said we need positive confrontation. And that,
I like that.
That was just kind of my catch-all, because when you have, but a lot of people don't like that word confrontation. But if you have confrontation, that's positive, you get to a better place. When you go into the confrontation with the negative, right, then it spirals and goes out. But I think that's a great point.
What we do here at UTEC, Amy, is if we have a confrontation, we settle with leg wrestling, don't we, Les? We line up, we get on the floor, and whoever wins the leg wrestling match, that's the idea we go with, right?
You don't have a putting contest.
Yeah, no. But we do it with positivity. No.
Yeah.
No, but I learned that in my mind. I don't know if you recognize good to great, but you might recognize Crucial Conversation.
I was thinking that same thing. I love that book.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is a great guidepost, for in just straight leadership and building teams. That's
okay. Too funny. My lecture today features Crucial Conversations. That's one of the required readings. I'm going to have teams of students identify crucial conversations that they've had in their past and use tools in the book. So, I mean, we are totally on the same page here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is crazy.
But we lost a bazooka. Reel us in.
We're on the same page, but unfortunately, I think we're in the same book.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so good. No, that's that. I think it's foundational. Foundational.
And that's really where I met you from a business standpoint, was watching you and admiring the work you guys did with Spark, because it was a great team, like you said, and you guys did I don't think people, if they weren't familiar with Ann Arbor, understood how big of a hit that was with Pfizer leaving and the work that your team did and that whole group to really keep us on a right track economically, job growth, the whole thing for the region. I mean, we got the U here, awesome. Right? And everybody thinks it's just magical because of that, but so many other opportunities came up and businesses were started because of you guys.
It was pretty amazing. One of my coworkers now, Mary Sally, she reached out to me. We were acquainted. Her dad had been involved with the IT Zone, one of the predecessor organizations for Ann Arbor Spark. And after Pfizer left, she reached out. She's like, "I think you need help." I'm like, "I do." And she joined the Spark team, and now we work together now as well.
That's
so
great.
Just great. So many people just jumping in to help.
It's good also that you exhibited the humbleness to acknowledge and then accept the help. Some folks don't receive.
Okay. We're always better together, I believe.
Yeah, cool. What I'm hearing is a business incubator.
Yeah, so Ann Arbor Spark provided a lot of, they provided physical incubation support. They provided a lot of service support. They still call it a business accelerator. So if someone has an idea or they've developed an invention, but they need, for instance, a marketing study, to prove out where the first beachhead market should be. Ann Arbor Spark and other statewide programs can provide consulting services with marketing consultants to be able to further a concept or a product or a business.
That's cool.
They do a lot of entrepreneurial education programs. They have a semi-annual boot camp that matches entrepreneurs with mentors and investors. They provide a pre-seed fund, a lot of connections for investors, for companies when they're ready for that, as well as support for existing businesses, whether it's additional, they're looking for new office space, or they're looking for expansions and they need help navigating like a tax abatement or other zoning issues. So they're really, economic development organizations, many people don't really realize they exist, but they play such a key role in bringing investment and jobs and retaining that investment and jobs in a community.
Where does the funding come for that?
A few different sources. So sometimes there's state funding and grant funding that they can get. Oftentimes the business communities will support it. So I think Ann Arbor Spark and Paul Kirko have done a great job engaging local business leaders, organizations like Bank of Ann Arbor or other organizations that really know, okay, we will survive and be more successful if the community is more successful. Oftentimes the local municipalities will also contribute. I think many realize it's much more efficient to have Ann Arbor Spark be the lead on economic development as opposed to hiring an economic development person themselves. And so I think Spark has made some nice connections and partnerships in Livingston County to take on that role.
Oh, great. Well. Right. Expanding the mission.
Yes.
Yeah, I know they work up there in the chamber office and do a lot up there. So you take the success, this wildly successful team. You guys are just knocking it out of the ballpark. It's rolling. It's doing great things for our area. And you parlay it into a job with the governor. You follow him, right?
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
So talk about that. I mean,
sure.
What made you think to do that?
Well, it was, I remember when Rick Snyder kind of threw his hat in the ring, and I was like, I was like, this, I was just thinking to myself, this could end up affecting my career at some point. And then lo and behold, he won.
Right.
And he brought Mike Finney up to head Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Elizabeth Parkinson worked with him as well. And then they decided to also create a new function at the MEDC called Talent Enhancement, which was the function that they had envisioned for me, for my role at Spark. And so, so it was kind of like an amazing opportunity to, as I kind of say, I got a bigger sandbox with more toys and more friends to play with at the state level. So my role was to be more innovative. There's a workforce system, and so it wasn't to duplicate that by any means that exists through the Department of Labor, but to look at other ways to attract and retain talent. And so this is from 2011 to 2015. And, we had been through a horrendous downturn in the economy, but then, for instance, manufacturing was back and booming. Yet a lot of the skilled trades workers either had moved to Texas or had retired, and there wasn't a backfill of that talent. So, for instance, one of the programs I worked on was a German model apprenticeship program that Governor Snyder was inspired by some German companies that had locations in Michigan. So that was one way to innovatively approach talent, for example.
Right.
I was trying to think of it on the way in, drive in this morning, and it's funny. It's almost Super Bowl time here, and I think that was Rick's coming out party with, because we were doing some work. We had helped his campaign staff get started, and we had some equipment down there and working and thinking, okay, what's going on? I've never heard of the guy, really,
Yeah.
And then he launched that Super Bowl commercial, and what was the nerd?
One tough nerd.
One tough nerd. I was trying to think what the tagline was there, but really that should be a study for marketing and branding, because I think that put him on the map with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Governor Nerd would catch on, but it didn't. It didn't. I think I was the only one saying that.
But so he comes on, he takes the state by storm, and it becomes our governor. And I think that we're not a political show because we don't know anything about politics, but I always thought that he was one of our best governors because he effectively made both sides mad because he did what was right, not what either side of the ledger wanted, And I thought that was you guys had a great team up there, and that's how you viewed things. We didn't try to solve everybody's problems. We just tried to make the economy work.
Right.
And that would fix everything.
Oh, yeah. There were people in his administration that were Democrats, independents, that he didn't care at all about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He wasn't a political guy, was he? And he takes the heat for all this stuff. And he's probably thinking, man, I did these guys a favor, and I got to be the fall guy for this stuff because of politics, you know, which is terrible. But how fun was that working at that level, and the conversations and the viewpoints, and talk a little bit about that.
Oh, God. It was exciting. And I got to work closely with the governor on the talent message. So he wrote a talent message, so I was involved with that. When he was writing his message on public safety, one of the programs that was included in that was called Community Ventures, which is one that Mike and I had kind of developed under kind of his vision about providing opportunities for all Michiganders, even ones that had maybe were coming out of the criminal justice system, people that didn't have a strong education or opportunities, and as well as really focusing on urban poverty. So that program was focused on residents of Pontiac, Flint, Saginaw, and Detroit, and it was launched in that public safety message and was funded by the governor for I think 5 or 6 years, and that's when Mike stepped away from the role at MEDC, he wanted to spin this program out nationally to provide more communities with opportunities. So anyways, it was always.
And he was successful with that.
Well, he had got some legs on it and was starting to have some conversations with foundations. We remember we had a great meeting in Flint with the Mount Foundation talking about the program, and then the Flint water crisis hit. And so all resources from foundations in that area, rightly so, were focused on that issue. So Mike kind of was working on it in parallel to when I launched my business. I was consulting to him to help launch Community Ventures nationwide. And there were a few roadblocks and hurdles, and then eventually Mike was recruited. He had many opportunities, and so that's when he took an opportunity to lead economic development down in Miami. But he launched the program in Miami, and that model, and I'm still hoping that somebody will pick it up, because I think it is the right kind of playbook for that issue.
Did it prove successful in Miami?
I don't know the details of it. I know that at some of the memorial programs that they were talking about, they were raising, people could contribute money to launch it. I know that Gina Finney, his wife, was looking at trying to see how it might continue on.
Wow.
Yeah. So Mike was a great man, and will forever be missed every day, right? When we talk economic development and leadership that way. But so Amy said, look, I got really tired of all the steak dinners, the bourbon, the cigars, having golden limos shuttle me all around the state for transportation. So she wanted to start her own gig. She said, I'm humble. I'm a lady of the people, Les. And she said, I'm going to go do my own thing here. And I want to talk about your background, because I think it's important that when anybody comes to Amy Cell Talent Agency and get engaged, they understand you know what you're talking about, right? You're not just somebody that couldn't find a job, so you supposed to recruit jobs for other people, right? You know a little bit about this.
I think so. I mean, the opportunity that I had at Ann Arbor Spark and MEDC to develop job connection systems portals for the local region, and we created Pure Michigan Talent Connect. Doing a lot of those programs, definitely gave me insight into what employers need, what the recruiting process looks like, what job seekers need. Another one of our programs at MEDC and Spark, another idea that Rick Snyder at the time had, was to help people that are coming out of big companies adapt to be able to be successful at small companies, because the Michigan landscape had a lot of large companies. They were downsizing, especially in 2006, 7, 8. The new opportunities were with innovative-based companies and diversifying our economy. But people coming out of a large automotive company oftentimes aren't successful in that smaller environment. So Rick Snyder had a vision for a program to help with that, and so it turned into shifting gears. And Diana Wong was a key collaborator in that program that went statewide. So, and we worked with thousands of job seekers to help them pivot and learn about themselves. So,
Isn't that very, I'm going to interrupt, but isn't that very important? Because I think people underestimate that it's tough to go from a big company down to a small company, and you have a lot more freedoms and
It's a different culture.
canvas to paint your own picture, but a lot of people can't survive without the guardrails.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. It's hard to go from a small company and learn to adapt in a big environment.
Yeah, you do that, you're a maverick.
Yep.
And then if you go the other way, you're, stuffy.
Yep, and many people weren't successful in that transition. So the idea of this program was to help people, and this was happening again when many people had been at a large company for 25 to 30 years, didn't know where they had a paper resume the last time they needed one. They needed to go through a period of grief to let go of, these were people that had signed up for one company, thought they would retire with full medical and be fine, and that, the world was kind of changing. And they didn't have the connections into the small companies. So we provided them with mentors, with internships, and it was a good program.
So there's something similar going on right now, but in the tech space. And the layoffs are all coming from the large tech-based companies, and they're not small. I mean, the marketplace is being flooded right now with, tens of thousands of people, just in the last 60, 90 days.
Yeah, we have a program called Job Search Boot Camp. It's just a free webinar that we do, and we have our we've been seeing that trend over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
This last month we had our highest number of registrations, which is unfortunately a sign of the times.
So you're killing it in every role you have, and you keep on getting a bigger role and a bigger role and a bigger role, and you're moving up. Talk about you come home one night and say, hey, I'm going to take all this guarantee off the table, and I'm going to roll the dice and go do my own business. And what were you thinking there?
Well, yeah, it wasn't as, I guess, intentional as you might make it sound. So,
everything you do is intentional. You're very
well planned out, methodical.
Yes, she is.
So
tactician, they call her.
So as I mentioned, Mike wanted to spin out this program called Community Ventures, and the new person coming into MEDC had a different vision for talent, and that vision did not include having a talent function or me at MEDC. So I became a consultant to MEDC to help Mike spin out the program for 6 months. But I was still getting contacted by job seekers looking for jobs, entrepreneurs looking for talent. I knew that many of these startups and small businesses couldn't afford a 20, 30, 40% fee on that first year salary. I knew that I knew a lot about systems and how to connect people, and had a broad network, and figured I could do something different. And so we put together kind of a different model that was based on kind of average time and expenses, about 10% of the fee for a regular search, and it worked out. So cool. A lot of people, because I was able to test it pretty quickly and realized that there was something there, and then launched the LLC knowing that I could serve a need.
I mean, I think that's a great concept, because you were able to fire up and get into launch mode quickly, assess whether or not there was a market for the service, and then you've probably gone full. I think that's a fantastic. Or at least I would compare that to somebody, let's say, a decade ago or more, that tried to have an idea that was something to be manufactured, right? How do you spring up something and manufacture it, ship it, find out if it's a viable business? And I really do feel that's an advantage that we have today in this world with the technology. You can move right into A/B testing quickly on virtually anything and make a run of it.
Yeah, which is great. Innovation is so important for our economy in Michigan, the United States, and beyond.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Really do.
Well, if you look, I remember her webpage, amycelltalent.com, right? there's a couple faces on there now, and it's like 6 pages long, right? I mean, there's all these people, that your company's not a little company anymore. It's becoming a dynamite power, isn't it?
It's been fun. Yeah, I think we've
It's an
got 22
empire.
people now, and it's great. I work with another great team that believes in the mission of supporting small businesses, nonprofits, municipalities with affordable services. So it's been an honor to be able to serve.
Yeah.
So not only are you connecting people, finding all these jobs, but now the buck stops with you, right? You sign all those paychecks, so now you got to run a business. Talk about that. Was that kind of fun? I mean, did you think about that? I mean, you were always good at hiring people, but now you got to run a business. You got to get, benefits. You got to get, office equipment from her favorite office equipment provider.
You took out that here.
You've got to get, but you got to run a business, right?
Yeah.
Do the accounting for it and payroll. What's that been like?
So fortunately, my prior career was working as a public accountant, so that helped out. So I could figure out QuickBooks pretty easily. And then I did have a few business degrees, so leaning on those in terms of marketing and strategy.
A few.
But it was kind of, it's fun to be able to use those different skills.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I didn't like about public accounting. It was so narrow, and I liked kind of a broader mental space to play in. But it's also, it's 24/7, as you know, Kevin. I mean, you're responsible for a lot of mouths to feed. When things happen like a pandemic, you don't sleep at night and you have to make really tough decisions. And it's always a roller coaster, but it can be very rewarding to be able to create those jobs and to support families to be able to be successful.
Sounds very fulfilling.
It is.
So when we talk Amy Cell talent, what are who comes there? I mean, who's an ideal candidate? I mean, who's an ideal company? Do you focus on one or the other? Talk a little bit about that for somebody that's listening to this.
Sure. So generally small businesses that either don't have an HR team, we can be their outsourced HR provider or do special projects like recruiting engagements. And then for slightly larger companies, we can help their HR team with special projects or interim assignments. HR is something that's kind of lumpy. And so if you don't want to staff up for that full need that you have, sometimes outsourcing projects can be
Are we
helpful.
allowed to call HR people lumpy?
Yeah. I've been called worse, but and then
That's funny, actually.
and then nonprofits and municipalities also have
Right.
those needs as well. So, it's been
So
a
where
fun-
do you see your diversification in the future?
Well, I feel like we've definitely diversified into different industries. The nonprofits and municipalities came after the small business focus. And then we initially started as focused on recruiting, but then have expanded to all things HR. We are currently expanding a little bit beyond outside of Michigan in terms of the corporate recruiting. But I think the nonprofits and municipalities will stay focused on Michigan. Michigan has some unique laws that are an area that we're up to speed in Michigan, but that wouldn't necessarily translate to other states.
Got it.
And you want to be close to those communities when you're going to city council meetings at night. So
So you have expertise and you recognize the expertise.
yeah, it's been very rewarding. I was at a city council meeting last night and often do those, and that's where again being able to serve a community and help them find a new city manager or parks director or something like it. It's extremely rewarding.
And I liked your program. We're a user, right? We've used you on a couple occasions, and I've talked to friends and peers that have used you. And it's nice that I think sometimes when you talk recruiters or job placements, it's just about getting somebody in there, jamming them in there to get the commission, right? And you
It's
guys,
transactional.
yeah, and you guys work really hard to make sure the candidate's a right fit for the company and that the company's the right fit for the candidate. And it's a fixed fee in most cases that you can set up so you know what your costs are. And it's not about just trying to jam a spot in there, I think.
Yeah, trying to really align motivations, because I think when people are paid a commission or fee, you might be motivated to find the highest priced candidate, or so it just really aligns things well. We found
That's cool.
And so when you're not running this empire, as we like to say, right, you're not doing all this big time stuff, you find time for the small people, right? And you're very passionate about education. I think the few degrees gave it away right there. But you're a professor at U of M, right?
Faculty member. I'm a lecturer too is my official title, not professor, but yeah.
Well, for simple guys like us, that sounds like a professor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, a big time wig, you know.
Right,
she's on
exactly.
That big old payroll to 2 classes a semester, you know. But you do a lot of lecturing, teaching, right? Facilitating that. But WCC, which we're both passionate about for the foundation board, you've been a long time contributor there and volunteer and all that. Yeah, you're on the board there, and again, it's about young people, and actually there are a lot of middle-aged people at WCC too, right?
Oh, yeah. It's been a lot of fun to work with you for that mission, Kevin, to help, especially, Washtenaw Community College and all community colleges play a key role in providing opportunities to people and meeting them where they are. The work that we do on the foundation is around fundraising, so when people have emergency grants or need a scholarship because they wouldn't have been able to make it, without that help, it's extremely rewarding, and the stories are just heartbreaking.
Well, but we don't make it fun. I think it's having a great leader like Rose over there, and then having Tina running the team and the team that makes it fun.
So you just walk through our NOC, our network operating center, our manager, Washtenaw Community College, 3 people on the staff there. So yeah, it's been very helpful for us. Very helpful.
A couple salespeople. I mean, if
that's true.
We probably have.
That's right.
7 or 8 people now that have come through WCC, and it's a great Washtenaw Community College, a great place to go find talent.
Helped us a lot.
What else is going on in Amy Cell's life here? 2023. What are we going to expect from you now? What else big things are you going to do?
Wow, gosh. Well, talking about the Washtenaw Community College Foundation, they're going to have their gala on Friday, September 29th. Mm-hmm. That has not been publicly announced yet, but you heard it here first.
We got breaking
news.
Yeah. Hey, we have a sound effect for that, Johnny?
Yeah.
That's why it's breaking news. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. What was that date again?
Friday, September 29th.
You heard it here, folks.
So you still keep in contact with Governor? I know he's got a new venture going on that sounds pretty exciting too, huh?
Yeah, yep. Sensi, and that's going to be like providing excellent cybersecurity services for small businesses that don't have a huge IT department but still need it. And every day I know we're getting phishing schemes and attacks and attempts to steal things. So that's a huge need that he's filling with a great team with Bhushan Kulkarni and others.
Another great WCC board member too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we've had a chance to meet with them, and we're trying to find ways to work together with them, and so we're pretty excited about that. But wow, you want to talk about an area of concern for small business, and an anticipated, speaking of talent, anticipated shortfall of about 600,000-700,000 people, over the next 24 to 36 months, working in that arena.
So the good news is, Les.
Yep.
By having her on here today, if this podcasting thing doesn't work out, she can place us someplace. You know what I mean?
Can you help us?
Oh, yeah. You guys don't need any help.
Is that a brush off? That sounded like she's being nice going.
Oh, no.
Kelly services for us too.
Yeah,
right?
I got it. Yeah. The problem is, though, the new phones, I don't know if we can answer, But go ahead. Voicemail's taking over for us.
Anything else we need to tell anybody about Amy Cell Talent?
Oh, no, this has just been an honor and a pleasure to be with you today.
It's actually been ours.
Well, good. Well, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We don't have any bourbon here.
I know. I was just like, oh, my God, we're out. Here, take a glass. Yeah. Take a look. Oops, sorry. Read that one, if you can read it.
Les Kevin 2021 edition.
Yeah.
We have to get, our team here has failed us. You don't really have a little bourbon here for
Yeah.
Well,
I guess it's early in the morning. We're not going to make you drink because, we know how you are. Bourbon, cigars, she'll be gone for the day.
Yep.
What's your favorite bourbon?
I'm more of a wine drinker. So I can't answer that question.
What's your favorite
intelligently.
wine?
I actually like the buttery Chardonnays.
Oh, really?
work well.
That's very good.
And then Columbia Crest is my go-to cab. It's quite affordable as well.
Make a little note for the next. You coming to March Madness?
I hope so. Yeah.
All right.
Looking forward to
She
it.
will be March Madness. She's going to bring everybody looking for a job.
It'll be a good
Recruiting
time.
fair over here at UTEC, March Madness.
March
know,
16th,
yes.
2023.
Oh,
So.
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We've been a long time admirer. You're great for the community. You're great for folks finding jobs. You're great for small businesses and getting people placed with them and making them better. And we appreciate what you do for WCC and just all around one of the favorites, man.
That's
So,
awesome.
Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh.
And
My
thank you.
pleasure. You're too kind.